Good evening, everybody. This is Big Bill coming to you live from Model Railroading Live. Model Railroading Live, the #1 model railroading show in the world. Who's Big Bill talking to tonight on November 25th, the day before Thanksgiving? Man, we have a Thanksgiving special eve for you guys tonight, and I'm glad you guys tuned in and are being a part of this show. But before I get started with our guest, who you see on the screen with us, I just want to give you a heads up and a reminder that we're going to have a special Who's Big Bill talking to November 28th. That's this Saturday, and it's going to be a special time. We're going to be on the air at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be interviewing Martin Hughes, and Martin Hughes is a YouTuber whose YouTube channel is called Scale War Machines. He's a gentleman that does military modeling and dioramas, busts and figurines and stuff like that. And I've invited him on the show. He's from England. So 3 p.m. our time will be about 9 p.m. his time. And that's going to be this Saturday, November 28th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, you'll have turkey sandwiches left over. The family will be gone. You can sit down on the couch, throw the video up, and we can interact because we're going to have a Q&A with him as well. So that's this Saturday, the 28th, a special showing of Who's Big Bill talking to at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with our guest, Martin Hughes of Scale War Machines. And then on December 3rd, coming into December, as they would say in the racehorse thing, coming around the clubhouse turn to the end of the year, that starts off December, we're going to have Johnny's Train Talk Show is going to be back on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's where you, the community, can come in and be a part of the show, just like we have right here. And you can be a part of it. You can do bring and brag. You guys know what the routine is. If you have any kind of problem, any kind of questions, or you just want to turn in and be a part of something, that's the show to do, Johnny's Train Talk Show. So pull up a chair, mosey on down, pull a soda pop out of the icebox, sit down at the table and have a discussion on model trains and stuff like that. And then continue in the series of Railroad Empires, we have how we build them. The boys are back in town on December 5th. That's Robert and company, Andy, Tim Wademan, and Ari McKeever. They're going to be back on, and they're going to be presenting their show at 9 p.m. too. All shows on Model Railroading Live on 9 p.m. Eastern Time, just so that you know. And but they'll be back on. The Railroad Empires will be on December 5th at 9 p.m. and they'll be doing their show in the series of how we build them. Last week, or the last show was on switches, different types of switches, and I think they're still continuing in the vein of track. But you have to tune in to find out. So with that said, I just want to invite our guest tonight. We have with us all the way from South Dakota, Fred Wild. Fred, good evening. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Bill. I'm doing good.
You sound good.
Thank you.
It was tough. It was tough getting a hold of you. It was like, we would get you and then you would be like, oh, I can't be on. I got to work. And then we'd be okay, let's get this other time. Then you'd be like, oh, no, I got to work. I'm like, okay. So, Rod Stewart's cousin. That's right. So, but we're glad that you're aboard, and we're glad that we finally got you. So, Fred, tell us. You're obviously, we see you sitting in your model railroading room, and you model what scale?
I am an HO modeler.
And what do you what is the era that you model in?
I'm modeling the ATSF in the mid-50s.
Cool. And how long have you been in modeling?
As a serious modeler since the early 90s when I was a teenager.
Oh, when you were and how did you get introduced into model?
In the real world, it was actually through a gentleman at church. He was
Really?
a member of a local club and invited me to come join as a 14 or 15-year-old, and that kind of went from there.
Nice, nice. And from there, so was anybody in the family? Anybody in the family, like doing model railroading that influenced you in any shape, form, or way?
Yes and no.
Yes.
So my dad had an American Flyer from when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was maybe 8 to 10, I don't remember exactly, my parents started setting up that tree around our Christmas tree. And so that was kind of my first introduction to the electric train. So it was kind of my dad, but my dad wasn't ever really a serious modeler. He was just kind of, he tinkered with it, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I have some other family influences because I had one that I never really knew that used to work for the Wabash Railroad way before I was born and was dead before I was born. And then my uncle, who actually worked for Santa Fe during its heyday.
Right. He worked for who did he work for again?
He worked for the Santa Fe Railroad.
Nice.
He worked out of Albuquerque, New Mexico from the mid 60s until just after the merger with BN.
Nice. And what is it that since you're doing an HO scale layout, an HO scale railroad, and are you in the process? Is it in the process of being built? Where are you? Are you still Plywood Prairie kind
of? I'm not a Plywood Prairie because I actually have grades and I have some stuff that's kind of formed. I really don't have anything that's really scenic. Some stuff with brown paint, but I haven't really done any kind of grass or rivers or anything like that. I've got stuff planned. I just haven't gotten that far yet. And the layout design, which is in my head and on the computer, is 2 decks, but I've only got 1 deck built so far.
Now, is the second deck, is it eye level or is it at waist level, and the lower deck is like at knee level?
The second deck, which I've started this backwards, the second deck is lower. It's probably 36 inches off the floor. It's like sitting at a chair height. And the upper deck is like 54 to 59 or 60 inches, depending on where in the basement you are. Which for some people is tall, but because I'm 6'5", it's a really good height for me.
You're sitting down or are you standing up right now?
Yes. I'm sitting down, but I'm sitting at a tall chair.
Oh, okay. You know, again, I'm so glad that I found you on the on the model railroading YouTube channel, because I'm in competition with Wilma from Indian Head Valley Railroad, that he always seems to have gotten a jump on me. So I'm glad that I came to discover you.
I'm sorry, Bill, but he found me when I posted my first ever layout update.
Drats and double drats, I say to you. Wilma, my nemesis. He's always beating me to the punch. Always. He's always getting the good guys. But I'm so glad that he did find you, because that's how I usually find all my ease is through Indian Head Valley Railroad, Wilma. So I greatly appreciate that. I appreciate Wilma. But yeah, so you're 6 foot. I would never think that you don't. I don't know. Maybe it's,
It's funny how the videos really make people look different. You think some people are taller, some people are shorter. It's
Well,
weird.
yeah, I stand at 6'2", you know. I stand at 6'2", and I remember that day was Barry Roget was we were on doing this when we were YouTube model builders early in the day, and he lived in Jersey, down by literally down by Cape May. So we went to a train show together, and he said, "Hey, let's get together, have lunch at the train show and everything, and get finally to meet." And I said, "Sure." So now we see each other like we're seeing each other now, you know. So what happened was uh, we meet, and he calls me on the phone, and he says, "I'm over here by the Lionel guy." So I walk up, and I actually walked up behind him, and he didn't turn around. And I turned around, and I looked, and I said to him, he's short. He's not very short, but he's short. And I said, "Hey, Barry." And he turned around, and he looked up at me, and he went, "Damn, you're big." So, you know, and everything. So now you started doing the lower deck first. For those guys that are appearing in, that are coming in now, we're chatting on Who's Big Bill talking to tonight. We're talking with Fred Weil, and Fred has an HO scale layout, and he models in what you say, the late 50s, right?
Yep.
Late 50s. So he has a lot of F units and some steam, big steam, and stuff
Yep.
like that. How big is the layout in itself?
I can't tell you exactly. It fills probably 70% of the basement, and the basement is like 24 by 33.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's good enough.
Yeah.
So when did you start construction on this layout?
I started a small portion of it probably 7 years ago. But at the time, I only had a small part of the basement I could start building in. As I got more space, most of it has cropped up in the last couple of years.
And when building this, when did you, in doing this layout and building this layout, I'm trying to formulate the question because I don't want it to be convoluted. Everybody, by the way, is saying hello to you. Heath, Randall Ellis, Indian Head Valley Railroad, Union City Junction. Let's see. Sparky says hello. Container Man 68 says hello. Who else is on? Tom Gregory. This is not Rod Stewart. No, it's not Rod. It's not Tom. I'm sorry. He's coming on later when we have time.
I will say hello to everybody on the video because I'm not watching the chat at all.
No. Yeah. So they're all out there talking among themselves. With Grandpa Rails is out there. He says hello to you. That's John. Hello, John. And who else? Stuff. Indian Head. Okay. But, the question I wanted to ask you was, when did the basement, now, see, this is where I get, like, most people I know that live in the Midwest don't have basements. That's just from what I'm gathering. Like in Florida, no one has a basement. So everything's done in a sunroom or some outdoor thing. But so how did you come about saying to your lovely dear bride, your wife, "I'm going to build this layout downstairs, honey, because I do the hunting and the gathering, and I bring the meat home."
So I managed to take over the basement because she was pretty much scared of going down here. She doesn't like spiders and other creepy crawly things, and so
you said, "Let me take it over. I can fix it up."
And when she knew this hobby, she knew that I was into this before we got married, so it wasn't a big surprise to her.
Okay, well, that's good. So when did you come up with the plan? Well, you had been thinking about the plan, or?
Well, the initial part that I started, I based off of somebody else's plan, although I had to cut it and shape it to fit the space I had. And then it just kind of grew from there. As I had more space, I, decided to come up with other ideas. And, I love switching. I love running trains in more of a prototypical way. And so I had to make sure I had a single track mainline, passing sidings long enough for passing trains, areas to actually do switching between those. And I wanted some open space so that you actually have country between the switching areas. And so it can evolve from that.
That would, I know exactly what you're saying, because you don't want to, where you're running a train and you come in and you're switching and you left the town, but the rear end when you're switching in another town, the rear end of your train is in the town that you just left. Kind of like the illusion is not. Sparky 107 says, Fred Wild. He says, can you send me your autograph, please? You are now YouTube famous. He said he posted Fred's channel in the chat. He says, not sure, but did it show up for everyone? No, not yet. I didn't see it. No, it didn't come up there. Yeah, not yet. Dwight Curley says, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Dwight. It's Fred. Wow, it's Fred. It's Fred. You're a popular guy, Fred. How many subscribers do you have to your YouTube channel?
131 right now.
Okay, well, hopefully we can get you to 133.
I can tell you got to do better than Wilmer on that. Wilmer found me at 15 and took me up to like 45. So you got to do better than Wilmer.
Wilmer, better than Wilmer. Oh man, I'm always in competition with this guy. Telling you, I gotta do my due diligence and my homework here. This is, I gotta give it up to Wilmer on Indian Head Valley Railroad. I'm telling you, he really does the heavy lifting. He goes out and he looks at the videos, and he looks at guys like yourself and guys like me, and then he comes in, and it just like boom, it just like he finds those hidden gems, like you, Fred, and a couple of others. I happened to find out Claude Crisp, Cowboy Trains in Timberland Junction, Cowboy Valley and Timberland Junction. Claude Crisp, I was in touch with him because I saw him on his channel. So he does the heavy lifting, and he gets he gets people out there that are, and what I love about him is he finds guys that are like, like they're like pieces of coal. You know what I mean? You like pick it up and you're like, this is. But then when you get into the meat of the video, you're like, hey, this is a diamond in the rough. So thank you, Will. Thank you for all the hard work that you did. Go ahead.
I can blame Wilmer because of Wilmer, the number of channels I'm subscribed to has gone way up. Oh
yes, there's a double-edged sword there. Yeah. Hey, welcome, Dwight of Northern Stars. Didn't hear who your guest was tonight. I want to introduce you to Fred Wild, Dwight. Fred Wild's YouTube channel is Fred Wild, WILD. He's out in YouTube, so check out his channel, Dwight. Just so that we're practically 20 minutes into this, I just want to give you guys out there that came in late, that didn't hear the whole thing. We're talking with Fred Wiles. Fred Wiles has an HO scale layout, and it's a basic ATSF, Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 50 style layout, and it's in a basement that's approximately 20. The basement is what, 24 by
33.
By 33, but it takes up the basement. It's a double decker. Also, just to give you guys a heads up, this Saturday, the 28th, Who's Big Bill Talking To is going to have a special Who's Big Bill Talking To Martin Hughes, who's from England. We'll be broadcasting 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Saturday, the 28th of November, because Martin is from England, and it will be 9 p.m. his time there. Martin is not a model railroader. What he is his YouTube channel is called Scale War Machines. He's a military model, and he does military dioramas and paints figures and soldiers and stuff like that. But he's a big military modeler, and we're going to be having him on our show this Saturday, 3 p.m. A special Who's Big Bill Talking To. So it's after Thanksgiving in the U.S., so you guys can kick back, make a couple of turkey sandwiches, and chill out and watch the show. But right now we're talking to Fred Wild, and he's in his basement right now with his layout. So Fred, let me ask you another question. I understand we were talking earlier. You like to make switches. You do hand laid switches.
I do like to make switches. When I was a teenager, I saw these layouts. I saw John Allen's stuff, etc. Hand laid, beautiful track, and I looked at that and I went, "There's no way I'm ever going to do that. This is too tedious." And now I love doing it. I've been building my own switches for 5 or 6 years, maybe now, and it's so nice because you can do things that you just can't buy commercially.
Right. Now you said that you live in South Dakota, but you do have a club in your town. Is that correct?
We do have a club in our town. It's been around since I think it was '88 when it was started, and there are quite a few model railroaders in this community. Even though we live in a fairly small community, and I live in a small town, 26,000 people. And then we're basically rural. There is nothing around us for hundreds of miles other than little, 1,000 people towns in those directions.
Right.
Some ways it kind of sucks because I got to go a long way if I want to actually go to a physical brick and mortar store.
Right.
The internet is really good for that kind of thing. I buy a lot of stuff on the internet these days, but we're lucky that we have a club here in town, and the club I belong to, we're actually working on a fairly major layout expansion too. So I've actually been constructing a lot of switches for them as well as for my own layout. So the switch building has kept me quite busy lately.
And do you enjoy building switches?
I do. I really enjoy it. Takes me 45 minutes to do one, but it's a fun thing to do. I put on some music and it'll work.
There you go. I like that. Now getting back to your railroad, is the HO Scale Railroad, you run F units, diesels, and big steam. What's the ratio of big steam and with your diesel? Is it split, or are you more of a steam guy than a diesel guy, or a diesel guy more than a steam guy?
I would love to say I'm more of a steam guy, but the wallet says I'm more of a diesel guy.
Right.
It's probably a 4-to-1 ratio between steam and diesel, which is actually not a real big difference. I think I have like 7 or 8 steam engines now.
Oh, okay. All right. And out of what companies are they from? What companies do you make?
I've got a few Broadway Limiteds, which I've been very happy with. I know some people don't. Some people have problems with them. Some people like them. I like them. I have a couple of Athearn Genesis locomotives. I have I have 3 brass engines, one by United Models and one by Tenshoto, and I'm not sure who built the third one. All 3 of them are fairly nice engines, so I really like them.
Good. And I have a question from Dwight at Northern Star. He said, Fred, do you follow Paul Britland of International Scale Modeler?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'll have to check that out.
Okay. And Dan Cohen wants to know, are you in Aberdeen?
I am.
Yes, Dan, there you go. He is in Aberdeen. Human City Junction says, I'm glad my wallet does not talk to me. It would be screaming. The professor is on. He says, we talk about hand laid. Hand laid allows you to do things not otherwise available, but unless you're building the throat to Union Station, what kind of complex trackage would a model the typical layout actually need? That's a good question. But I think it would be more than that, wouldn't it? I mean, you find it to be very relaxing and meditative.
Yes. Sorry. I've got some turnouts and without picture, it's kind of hard to show you. I've got some turnouts where I've got turnouts that are like right on top of each other. They're facing each other, so they crisscross like right in top of each other.
Right.
Two turnouts facing each other, go right into a crossing, go right into another one. One of those two turnouts is a three-way switch because it goes into a crossover one direction and into the crossing the other. I don't think I could probably do that commercially at all. I mean, you can get a three-way, you can get the crossover, but as close and compact as I have it on my layout, I don't think it would work. And if you give me just a second,
I'll give you 2 seconds because we're retired. Yeah, Rail. Just before you come back, Rail Artist. He states he goes, Mr. Wild just got his 133 subscriber.
Nice.
So we've met the what we accomplished tonight. Hopefully we get 134. Frank Delort, hey, Frankie D's in the house. That's my main man, Frankie Rice Balls, everybody. Frank, he wants to know, do you use a jig to make your switches?
On some of them, yes. On some of them, no. So I have a switch that hasn't ever been mounted yet, which I will hold up in the camera here. And if you can tell, it's got 3 routes, and one curves one direction, and the other 2 curve the other direction all at the same time.
Right.
That's not something you're going to buy commercially.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That's a little unusual. Let's see. Yeah, he says he does. Jiko Samurai says, what's his channel? His channel is Fred Wild. W-I-L-D, Fred Wild. And the professor says, I get the Zen aspect of handling, enjoying that myself, but I'm not into building puzzle switches just for the hell of it. And I'm not going for an AP. Well, there you go. There you go. Well, that's your call. That's your call. He's building it for his club layout, and he does it, to each his own. One man's ceiling is another man's floor.
I say my only puzzle switches came out of necessity.
Yeah.
Because of the space constraints.
Right. Oh, look at this. Rail Artist, he just got 30. Let's see. Fred Wild on YouTube. That's right. That's what Sparky 107 says. So now your layout, is it continuously run or is it end to end?
Currently, it is end to end. When I get the second deck built, it will have the capacity to be a continuous run. The finished design has a staging yard at each end, and then the 2 staging yards connect back to each other, so you could just run in one big loop.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
But I have not gotten to that.
You're not there yet. Right, I got you. And what is it that powers the good old... what is the name of your layout, by the way?
I have been calling it the ATSF Wild Subdivision.
Wow.
Currently, it has 3 towns, none of which have an actual name yet. And it's powered by a Digitrax Chief system.
Nice. Do you think as you progress, do you think you'll upgrade your power system? Or add on to what you have existing?
It depends on what you mean by that. I have already added on to it since I bought it.
Oh, okay.
I just recently added duplexing and a brand new throttle. And I will at some point in the process be adding block detection so that I can add signal.
He's Indian Head Valley Railroad wants to know, Fred, what is your favorite locomotive that you own?
I'm a Santa Fe modeler, so I'm sorry. I think
That's
it is
all
the
right.
Union Pacific big boy engine that I just acquired recently.
The steam engine?
Yep.
Oh, that's sweet. Was that by
And
who made that?
that's an Athearn Genesis. And
Genesis, nice.
I've been wanting to get one for a few years, and last year I got the opportunity to actually go see the big boy running in person, so that kind of adds to it.
Oh, that I just wait. Tom Gregory says you're now up to 135 subscribers. He wants to know what our goal tonight is. Tom, our goal tonight is 1 million subscribers. But we'll take 145. Is that setting the bar too high? I don't think so. What's the locomotive that you want but you don't have yet from Joey Buckzak?
I would really like to have an SP cab forward. I am an ATSF modeler, but I have some SP, I have some Union Pacific, so I'm not just ATSF.
Right. Dwight at Northern Star says, you're running the big boy. You must have a lot of radius curve trackage.
So
some of us just collect.
I'm not sure that big boy will actually run around my layout because I haven't tried it yet.
Yes.
It will run around my club's layout. My club's layout has a slightly bigger radius than I do. My minimum radius on the what will be modeled portion is 26 inches, so it should run.
Now, you said earlier before we got into some more questions, you got into saying that you went up to see the Centennial. Was that the Centennial for the big boy, the Union Pacific? The big boy. Did you go up to what was it, Utah?
So, let's see, 2019, when UP was doing their big boy excursions all over the country.
Right.
I went out to Omaha, Nebraska, and it spent the day there. We saw it there, and then we chased it the following day from Omaha to Grand Island.
Oh, sweet. My Jimmy Malloy went up to where the Golden Spike. They did the reenactment of the Golden Spike, and then he followed the big boy. You got some video of it, really nice.
In Omaha, up on the hill in Omaha, they have a stationary big boy and a Centennial, and I have been up there multiple times.
Isn't that some piece of work, that big boy engine? That's breathing. That's an actual living, breathing. That's a beast.
And it's big. Like I said at the beginning, I'm 6'5", and those drivers come like up to here on me. I mean,
Really?
they're huge. They are huge.
They believe it. Joey Buzzak says, I must be the oddball in steam. I have no interest in those giant articulated locos. Tom Gregory says, I too saw the big boy last year in Arkansas. Awesome day. I got 3 new videos. You know, but it is a glorious. It's so nice to to be in the model railroading hobby and everything. What's your favorite part of modeling? Right.
Probably running, doing switching operations.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, is this going to be an operational layout? I mean, obviously, if you get it to do continuous, you can run one around the main line and and stuff like that. But will be really operations?
The plan is for it to be operations with train control, because I want to do signaling and block detection, and I'm already doing switchless through JMRI, so I've already implemented that part of it. And I have had a few friends from the club over a couple of times to run trains on it. So that's kind of my intention is to be able to run trains with friends on it.
Mm-hmm. And how many, and realistically, how many people can you get in the basement to do an operation session?
With the way I've got things set up, and if I get the second deck built the way it's supposed to be, you could probably run 5 or 6 trains at one time.
And how many guys could you have down in the basement?
Probably 8 to 10. Pretty easy.
Ooh, I got a good point here from Dan Cohen. He says that Aberdeen was considered a hub city for the railroad. The city was set in the wrong spot, measured incorrectly. Then he goes, my wife doesn't love my hobby. So it's fun to tell how there's a modeler in Aberdeen.
Aberdeen was built on a swamp. It was named after Aberdeen, Scotland, because it was the hometown of Alexander Mitchell, who was the president of the Milwaukee Road at the time that it was named. At one point, Aberdeen is known as the hub city because on an old railroad map, we look like the hub of a wheel. There were at one time 4 railroads that came through Aberdeen, and there are still 4 train stations in Aberdeen. The Milwaukee, the Great Northern, the Chicago Northwestern, and the Emmons St. L.
Wow. Bill Lane wants to know, do you hand lay all your track or just the turnouts?
I just do the turnouts.
Just the turnouts. Yeah, hand laying track is pretty tedious. There's only so much Zen-like quality you can get from hand laying track, and then your hands get cramped and stuff like that. We had a guy, there was a guy who was building, this is going back a couple of years ago, there was a guy building a layout, and he made the statement in his video that he was going to hand lay all the track for the layout. And then about 2-3 weeks later, he got on and he said that he was just going to hand lay the yard. Then a month later, he got back on and he said, no, he's just going to do the switches. He's going to hand lay the switches and everything's going to be commercial track. Joey says, hope you don't mind me calling you Joey. You sound like you're from my end of the neighborhood here, Joe. Joey B says, hey, Fred, what's your end goal in model railroading? Is this layout finished? Built one after it's, and will you build one after it's done, et cetera, meaning, once it's done, you're going to tear it down, rebuild again? What's your...
I think my end goal is to build and operate this layout. I may obviously tweak it as I go, but, a model railroad is never finished. It's just abandoned.
Yeah. What's his name? Human Junction wants to know, is it cold up there or is that just in North Dakota?
Okay, so yes, it's cold, but my uncle, there was this couple that bought a piece of property on the border between North Dakota and Canada. And they wanted to have their land surveyed to find out whether they were going to have to live in North Dakota or live in Canada. And when they got the information back, they found out that they were going to actually live in North Dakota rather than Canada. And the one says to the other, I hear those winters in Canada are a real pain.
Joey, the Samurai Man wants to know, he says, I don't know if you were asked, but Fred, what got you started in model railroading?
I would say that really got started because of a church friend. I think my dad knew that he was in it, and I was kind of into that stuff, and kind of, we knew each other, but he pushed me towards him, said, hey, You should go talk to him about this. So, and then it was the club after that really got me going when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Well, Heath, yes, I did say what's his name. It's better than whatchamacallit. But I do apologize, Heath. Human City Junction is Heath, as you all know. So I do apologize for that, Heath. And Stunhanger is in the house. This is the airplane guy, the RC guy who helped us with our live stream. And thank you very much for that, Stunhanger. We do remember you, and we do remember having those conversations with you. Welcome back. Try to get in, ask a few questions, but you guys kicked me out. I'm sorry about that, Stunhanger. Oh, they're only on the chat, not live. We don't do this. You can't come into the to this show. This is Who's Bill Talking To with Fred Wild. So the only time Stunhanger you can ask questions is through the chat situation here that we got here. What we have a few more questions. Human City Junction. Yes, he did. That's your new name from now on. What's his name? I do apologize again, Heath. Get caught up in the New York moment, and I can. But what was that? I tried to. Okay, we got that. Yes, Heath. This is the right. We got that. Okay. Okay, so we're caught up on all the questions and everything. Now, you were saying earlier, too, what's your name again? Whatchamacallit, right? So whatchamacallit, don't call me late for dinner. Stunhanger, these questions are going to have to wait until later. So you can email me at bill@modelrailroadinglive.com and stuff like that. Vegas Thomas, great show. Gandy Brothers are in the house. The Gandy Brothers. Did you see the show with the Gandy Brothers, Fred?
I did not.
Oh, go check it out. These two guys are really good modelers and create a lot of information. The Gandy Brothers, Human City Junction, Sparky 107, 107, all those guys. They got their own channels and live thing going on and stuff like that. So, and Grandpa Rails, all these guys. So thank you, Stunhanger. It's bill@modelrailroadinglive.com. Email me and I'd be glad we can hook up on this thing and talk and we can, get all involved in everything. Mystic Southern Railways is what's his face here? Fred Wild is here and we're talking with him tonight. Joey wants to know, Fred, any interest in creating turnouts for others at some point?
I've thought about it, but there's so much, at least to me anyway, there's so much tweaking that has to be done once you've installed it to make sure that it's really running good, to make sure that you don't have those issues, that I would hate to try and do it commercially and send them to people because of that, because otherwise I'd be spending all my time tweaking them on the bench and
Yeah, right. And then they'd be sent back because
and the time involved to do them for yourself is one thing, but the time involved to try and turn a profit, if you want to say, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I can see that because, in the club, if you're doing the club layout and, it's got to be tweaked, at least you can either do it right there or take them home, tag them and take them home and work on them when you so desire.
And I'm part of that club. So, I'm using them all the time when I'm down there, too. So,
Yeah, that's true, too. Do you have a good group of guys in the club?
We do. Our club roll is somewhere between 18 and 20, but there are about 6 or 7 of us that are active modelers and that are actively at the club working on the layout.
What's the age span in the what's the youngest guy to the oldest?
Our youngest guy is now in college. So I think he is 20, and our oldest one is our former president and one of the founding members, and he's somewhere in his 80s now.
Oh, God bless him. God bless him. What's the name of the Model Railroading Club?
It's called the James Valley Model Railroad Association.
Oh, do you guys have a website and stuff like that?
We have a website. We have a Facebook page. I think we have a YouTube channel, but I'm not actually sure about that one.
Oh, okay.
Facebook is the place to find us.
Now, what's it called again, just so we know?
It's called the James Valley Model Railroad Association. It's easiest to look it up as abbreviations, JVMRRA.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Very good. Now, I asked you what your best thing about model railroading was. What's your worst thing that you don't like about model railroading?
Keeping motivated.
That's a.
And truth be told, that's part of the reason I started my YouTube channel. Because as I do videos on this stuff, the comments I get help keep me motivated, keep me going, keep me working on stuff. I've watched some of these guys' videos, and I can't give you any names off the top of my head because I can't think of them right away. But I've watched these guys in 6 months build a 4x, or not a 4x8, but like a 2x8 switching layout from nothing all the way to finished scenic. And I go looking at this going, I've been working on this thing for 6 years.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Fred. You're right. Motivation is, I think motivation is the big stumbling block for us.
There is also that making a living thing that gets in the way sometimes.
I can attest to that. I am a retiree, and you think since you're retired, you'd have like, hey, I got all this time in the world. I can work on this anytime I want. That is far from the truth. That is so far from the truth, because life, I think it's generally life in general. You got a job that you have a job that you have to go to, and you work and you do your 40 and plus your overtime or whatever. And then you have family commitment and the few hours that you get to, like Eric Hall of IMMR, .com, like he makes it a certain point, like he'll spend an hour, like literally puts a timer on, puts a timer on, and then an hour he works on his layout, and then when the timer goes off, that's it. He's done for the day. So there's a lot of mitigating factors involved. It's just not working. It's life in general, and what other hobbies, and plus, family. I mean, it's nice that the wife knows where you are. She knows you're downstairs in the basement working on the layout, and that you're not on the third stool at the Three Jolly Pigeons Bar and Grill. You know what I'm saying? So that there's a give and a take. Motivation is, and stuff. Dwight of Northern Star says, Big Bill and Johnny have been my motivation, because when you think about it, we are the wind beneath his wings.
I get a lot of motivation out of watching other people's YouTube videos as well.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I have a few questions. What do we got here? Let's see. Joey says, maybe someone could model a construction site with a row of blue outhouses and put a different John on each one. Then he writes, just kidding, LOL. Because we had a lot of Johns tonight in the thing.
I participate in all our live streams. I know how many Johns there are.
Yeah. There. Since this pandemic COVID thing, I didn't even know if I'm allowed to mention it on YouTube. But since this thing, we have a plethora of live streaming out there. Yeah. And everybody's like doing it. Human City, Junction. Heath is doing his during the day, and very entertaining, very informative. Other guys, Sparky's doing his regularly on Wednesday, and cousin Vinny's doing his, and then you got the Cross Anchors Railroad. Indian Head Valley Railroad, Wilmer, our good friend Wilmer, wants to know, Fred, do you have a person that inspired you in your modeling?
Depends on what you mean by inspired. I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of people on YouTube, but I have a guy who is local member of the club, who's probably a 20-year plus longer modeler than I am, who I always look up to, and I'm asking him questions. And he's old school to where if you wanted a certain road name on a car, you had to decal it. Decaling has become kind of a lost art in today's society, and so he's kind of my mentor in a way, guy I look up to.
Yeah. That's cool. Human City Junction is in regards to having time. He says, try unemployment. Lots of time, not much money. Well, I think we all been there, got the T-shirt, and, at one point or another have been down that road, so I know it does suck. Mystic Southern Railroad says, I'll take a little less money for a lot more time. Same for me. Started my channel to keep me motivated. Let's see. Mystic Southern Railway. Question, Fred, what is your favorite channel and why Mystic Southern? Why Mystic Southern? Okay, so why, Fred, let me ask the question. Why do you like Mystic Southern Railway so much?
I am not calling out any favorites on anything.
Gee, I wonder why. Question for, let's see, Dan, let's see, Indian. Fred, Human City Junction, Heath wants to know, who are your favorite YouTube channels and what are some inspirational ones for you? Man, they're just like ganging up on you, bro.
Okay. Well, no, I will answer that a little bit. Sorry,
just to give you a heads up here, Fred, Mystic Southern Railway went OMG. And he put LOL. And then he put LOL. So just to be fair, he put LOL.
Some of this goes back to before I got really active in the community, where I was basically just watching other people. And I was watching people like Ron Marsh, Ken Patterson, Luke Towen, Steve Brown.
Yes.
Those were the guys I was watching at the time. And two of those guys are N-Scale, and I'm HO.
Right.
And it was through that one of them was doing a live stream every Saturday morning. And so I started getting involved in that. And as I got involved in that, I started seeing names pop up as subscribers. And I went, I should actually start putting videos on YouTube. And that's kind of where it just ballooned from there. And that's, I didn't know who Wilmer was until he put me on his Not Bad show. I had no idea. Now I love the fact that I found him because, I find all sorts of other stuff through him. I knew of Sparky, but I had never really watched any of Sparky's stuff before that point.
Right.
And a lot of these other guys I knew, but didn't really pay a lot of attention to. At that point, I wasn't really subscribed to anybody. And it was those few things that kind of pushed me over and started getting me subscribed to other people and made me start producing my own stuff as well.
Right. What when producing your own YouTube channel, do you find that you're a slave to the YouTube thing, more or less, meaning that you feel like you always have to get a content out on a certain time?
I don't feel any specific drive to try and produce a video every week or every 2 weeks or even every month. I try to. I think I got like 38 videos up on my channel now, and most of them were within the last year. So I'm doing all right on that realm, yes. But I don't push myself. I don't want YouTube to be a job.
Right.
No. And because some of my background and, I was a theater kid. I grew up in the theater. My dad was a theater teacher. When I became young adult, in our local theater, they started doing what they called a 48-hour film contest, where they had a contest where you had to make a 7-minute movie in 48 hours. And so I got into the video work and the video editing. And so that's why I find it hard to just take a camera and shoot a long video and put it up. I want to edit things. I want to tweak things all the time because of that background. And so I find myself spending way more time than I probably should doing that part of it.
Right. Randall Ellis says, how I got started on YouTube was I was at the Christmas display last year taking videos of my locomotive, and someone suggested that I should put videos on YouTube, and the rest is history. Yeah, that's how it usually starts there, Randall. That's, that's what someone said to me. You should put your stuff out on YouTube, and I did. And then, I'm of the same thinking you are. On my South Brooklyn plug, South Brooklyn Railroad. I don't plug. No, I don't do. I far and in between videos, and I think that's because of the work we do here on Model Railroading Live. We're always doing some sort of a video. So, Indian Head Valley Railroad says, "Good for you, Fred. Do it for the fun. That's what it's all about, my friend." And he's absolutely right.
Unless you're making a living out of it, do it for the fun.
That's right. Mystic Southern Railroad says, I still discover new channels that are amazing. Absolutely true, Mystic. You're absolutely true. And Grandpa Rails agrees with Wilma. It is. It's a bit, sometimes, when you're juggling, a career, family, you're doing your model railroading, I got to do the YouTube video. And it's just sometimes can't keep all those, bowling balls in the air, because I tend to like to juggle with, what is that? The saws, buzz saws, when they're on. It makes it a little bit more dangerous and more exciting. But that causes a big mess when things go wrong, I'm telling you. Really nasty, and stuff like that. But the Andy Ambrose, he says, I like the Ambrose channel just off the New York coast. But you're biased, Andy. So everybody should, is that the name of your channel, Andy? Ambrose channel? Is the Ambrose channel? Because if it is, you just got a shout out. This is not, Human City Junction said, this is not the niche to try to make a living on YouTube. Meaning model railroading. Yeah, this is a small niche. No one's going to be the Casey Neistat of model railroading here.
There's only one Luke Townend.
There's only one Luke Townend. That is correct. Joey, Brooklyn, I can hear it. I'm further east, though. Syracuse. I got a relative that lives in Syracuse. My cousin Claire. Chainsaws, yeah, James Braxton. That's what I like to do, juggle chainsaws. That's what it was. I couldn't figure it out. Oh, Andy Ambrose. No, it's the C channel leading into New York Harbor. But what a knucklehead I am. Let's see this. Randall Ellis. And now my 9-year-old niece and her friend is getting into the act and becoming a bigger part of the channel, which is very rewarding. Yes, it is. Yes, very true. Do you have children, Scott? Fred?
I have 2 adult boys, 21 and almost 19.
Are they into the layout or somewhat?
They have some interest, but it's like pulling teeth trying to get them to come down.
I know that feeling. Professor says, Casey Neistat of model railroading? ? Yeah, there's a few who think they might be. So true, Professor. Yeah, it's tough. I got a 40-year-old who's he does his own thing. He's not really into model railroading. He comes in, he'll help me, he'll assist me, he'll ask questions. He'll help me clean track, which I think is wonderful because I hate cleaning track. But he'll come in. But mostly it's just me. My wife is a big supporter. Is your wife a big supporter of your hobby?
She tolerates it.
When you mean tolerate, what do you mean by that? She will
She
be
doesn't tell me
watching
to
you.
get rid of everything.
Okay, all right. I have to say that my lovely wife Georgianne is a big supporter of this hobby and of the channel and of doing things. She's always encouraging and always she's just lifting and giving, you know, and stuff. So yeah, yeah. So that's so cool, And what was I gonna say to you? So the boys aren't really the young men, I should say. They're not boys. The young men aren't really into it as much, but they do find it interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Uh,
That's cool. How about
when we,
guys? No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Fred.
I say when we went and faced 4014, the big boy, my boys came along with me on that, as well as my father. Actually, it was a whole men's outing. So
Ah,
there is some interest, even though they're not down here with me.
yeah. It was the Bin Fatul moment. More power, more power. You know, you know. James Bracton says that keeps the girlfriend and the wife out of her hair. She knows where you are. Like I said, she got me. Let's see. Joey says my 8-year-old loves trains. She got me back into it after 30-year break. That's so very true. I have to say though, my two granddaughters, Amber and Grace, 12 and 9, when they come over, they are thoroughly enthralled with the layout. They are like, can I run the train? Can I run the train? And in the beginning, when they first came, of course, they ran them like the Adams family and they wanted to crash them. But after some harsh talking to and being duct taped into the chair, they realized that, Grandpa's like really serious about his trains. No, I'm only kidding. I didn't give him a harsh talking to. And the duct tape, I used that cloth over it so there wouldn't leave marks on it. No, I didn't do that. They, but now when they come in, they're a little bit more. Now they understand it. Now they understand it, and they enjoy it more because now when they help me run it, I can actually leave them, while I'm working on something else, and they want to run a train. I let them run it. So that's pretty cool. And my nephew Jake is like 15 years old. I'm telling you, this kid, he comes over, he knows nothing. But whenever I have problems with my NCE power cab, and he just like comes, I call him up and we'll do a video chat and he'll tell me, okay, Uncle Bill, this is what you got to do. And like, these kids are like, they blow me away with their computer knowledge. I mean, really, I get so, oh, let's see. Mystic Southern Railway wants to know, Fred, he wants to know where you live, Fred. Because he's going to come in and take over.
Come over and take over.
Everything.
I'm in the northeastern corner of South Dakota in a little town called Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. Yes, good. Cool. Very good. Very good.
I discovered the other day that I'm actually further north than Sparky is.
You're actually further north than Sparky?
I am further north than Sparky.
Really? Wow. Let's see. Wilmer of Indian Head Valley Railroad says, my wife supports my hobby. She is absolutely terrific. Professor Tim Teller, that's right. Get the Binford 45 chainsaw, 4,500 RPM. Joey Buckzek says, he taught his 8-year-old running my switching. She's very good at it. Professor says, my wife supports, comes to conventions, and has been an operator at exhibitions. Very good. She also loves train chasing, local preservation lines like the 30 gauge puffing. Billy, yes. Grandpa Rails, I've turned my family into train fans. They send pictures and videos all the time. Randall Ellis says, my niece is really into building things and has often expressed interest in model railroad kits. So I already have one building, and I will try to get the donut shop next. Well, here Andy Ambrose has said, which I think is, he says my ex. I'm sorry about that, but he says my ex sort of lost interest in my hobby when I knocked holes through her fitted wardrobe to run track through it to complete the circle of the bedrooms. Yeah, I wonder why she's the ex, Andy. Dave, Dave BNS Nscale says I was born in Lisbon, North Dakota. Yep, Andy. Yep, Ambrose. That will do it. Professor says. Let's see.
My wife has gotten involved in some ways. She's come to a couple of shows with me. Usually she'll come in and she'll walk the floor for an hour or two, and then she goes and sits on her phone for the rest of the day and wants to know when we're leaving. But she's done stuff. She's baked cookies for open houses at the club, kind of stuff. So she does support it in a way.
That's yes. My wife asked one day if, she said, where are you? You know, I was going to the Edison train show in New Jersey, and she said, can I come? And I was like, yeah, you should. Forewarned, I said, this is just trains and stuff and a lot of walking around, and they don't have the tea that you like. They have bad coffee and and stuff. No, that's all right. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see. So she came with me, and I went up. There's the guy that sells all the what is it? The model railroading kits from Walters, and bought about basically $100 worth of kits, and it was a cash transaction. And my wife looked at the guy and she said, $80. And the guy looked at her and said, $95. And she said, no, $80. Meanwhile, I'm looking at both of them like, who is this woman I'm with?
I just want them.
Yeah, I'm like, when did she all of a sudden become a negotiator? And she says, no, $80 sounds like a good price. And he's going, no, 95. And then she goes, no, 80. And then he looks at her and he goes, 90. And she goes, no, I'll meet you in the middle at 85. And he goes, sold. And I looked at her and I said, who are you? She said, this is fun. I like coming to these shows. So, you never know. You never know.
My wife is a painter and a sculptor, and there's actually a painting of hers hanging at my local railroad club.
Oh, nice. Nice. Dwight of Northern Star says, my 10-year-old granddaughter found a used Cato track and train. She set it up herself without her dad's knowledge and will go around their industry this year. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
When my boys were younger and I was moving stuff back and forth between home and the club, I made the mistake of leaving my case of cars in the living room, and found my, at the time, 3-year-old had gotten them out and had them all in a line on the floor, all straight. Fortunately, he only broke one of them.
What does it matter? He was having fun. That's what kids
yes.
do.
Oh, yeah.
That's their job title when they're 3 years old, Hey, listen, Fred, thank you so very, very much for being on. And I know that you are tremendously, tremendously busy at work, and you took time off and day off tonight. And it affords you to have a couple of days now with the holiday tomorrow. But I wanted to thank you very, very much for being on the show of Who's Big Bill Talking To. We're talking with Fred Wild. Fred Wild's YouTube channel is Fred Wild, and I believe we got up to about 136 or 137. I don't know how many, but definitely we got you up there. So that's good. Just again, a reminder, this Saturday, special edition of Who's Big Bill Talking To, the post-Thanksgiving show with Martin Hughes of Skell War Machines. This is a military modeler, military dioramas. He'll be on at 3 p.m. with us because we're broadcasting live from England, and he will be on. So be sure to tune in at 3 p.m. And then on the 3rd of December, we also have Johnny's Train Talk Show. That's where you, the community, can come in and join and bring and brag and talk about model railroading and stuff like that. So mosey on down to Johnny's Trains general store there where the modeling is all taking place. Pull up a chair, pull a soda out of the ice box, and get to talking about model railroaders. And then again on the 5th of December, we're going to have the Railroad Empire, How We Build Them. All the shows are at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for this Saturday, the 28th. Will be a 3 p.m. special post-Thanksgiving. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States. And I want to wish all of you guys out there, all of you people, all of your families and everything a very, very blessed Thanksgiving. There's much to be thankful for this year, even though we had crazy stuff going on in the world of viruses, political stuff, upheavals everywhere, but yet we are still thankful for what we have and the freedoms that we do have in this world and in this country. So be thankful for that when you sit around the table with your loved ones tomorrow. Be thankful that they're there. Be thankful that we woke up in the morning, and just be thankful, because it's easier to be nice than it is to have piss and vinegar running through you, you know? It's just like, why be that way? So with that said, thank you again, Fred, for being on. It was a great pleasure having you. And to Rod Stewart, we ran out of time, Rod. Once again, I'm so sorry. I really am. I thought we were going to get you in, maybe share the time with Fred Wild, but unfortunately we can't. So maybe next time we will. So you guys out there, be well, be safe, but most of all, be blessed. And we will see you on the radio. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys out there, and to your families. Be well, be blessed again. Bye-bye.